Welcome to a Live Your Sparkle presentation. Host MJ Lambert. In this edition of Live Your Sparkle presents Ready to Write and Publish. But how? Publisher Marilyn Alexander of Destined to Publish Publishing Company will tell us how. Greetings, everyone. I am MJ Lambert, your host, and welcome to Live Your Sparkle presents. Live Your Sparkle is about accepting your life's assignment. Your life's assignment is rooted in God's plan for your life. If you listen to your heart, you will know it. Live Your Sparkle is about really tapping into what you know is true about what you want to do and accepting it, accepting your ideas, your talents, and yes, absolutely accepting your hopes and your dreams. And you do that by moving forward on what it is you know you really want to do, what is speaking to your spirit. You do that fearlessly, authentically, and without apology. Today, Live Your Sparkle presents I'm Ready to Write and Publish. And the purpose is designed to find those persons who are destined to become authors to accept their assignment. And today we have publisher and CEO Marilyn Alexander of Destined to Publish Publishing Company. She's going to tell us how. Welcome, Marilyn. Please come on and introduce yourself.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. This is exciting. Thank you so much. I am, again, Marilyn Alexander. I am a publisher and the founder, again, of Destined to Publish. Destined to Publish is a Christian based, independent, hybrid publishing company with a focus on literary coaching. We have almost 20 years in the publishing industry, and soon we will celebrate the milestone of having published our 400th author. And our authors are both nationally and abroad. Our goal in Destined to Publish is to take each and every one of our authors by the hand and walk them step by step on their publishing journey, because I believe in my heart of heart that just because you're self-publishing does not mean you have to publish by yourself.
Welcome, Marilyn. That is a mouthful. But guess what? We're gonna unpack everything that you talked about today. And I know that the persons who are destined to become authors, to meet and fulfill their assignment, they're going to get the nuggets that they need to move forward and act to fulfilling that assignment. Marilyn Alexander's focus is on, as she stated, self publishing. And I'm just going to quickly go over some of the points that she's going to talk about today that is really under the umbrella of self publishing. Number one is literary coaching. Number two is editing. Of course, the design. How does your book look? How appealing is it? The legalities of publishing. And also, when we get down to the nuts and bolts, we're really going to talk about publishing. Now, Marilyn, I took a survey before we got started, and let me pull it up. There were some interesting questions that people had about the whole prospect of self publishing that I would like to share with you. I'm not going to say them all, we'll come back to it. But folks want to know, how do you best find a literary agent? They want to know how to self-publish in itself. They want to know how much does it cost and when do you start earning income? And the last question I want to raise at this moment is, how long is the self-publishing process? if we can, let's go ahead and start with literary coaching.
Absolutely. First, I want to distinguish literary coaching from a literary agent. And so, in the question, the person was asking about a literary agent. So, literary agents, their job is to take your book after it's published into the marketplace and find buyers, to find you interviews like this, or podcasts where you speak about your book. So, or TV shows, those types of things. So, a literary agent is that person that gets you in the marketplace. And in terms of literary coaching, switching view, well, first, let me just say with literary agencies, I believe that you are your own best literary agent. There is nobody who can talk about your book like you can. And so, with the time, a little bit of time and a little bit of effort, you're able to do just as much as a literary agent would do with no cost. So that's a whole other thing. But literary coaching is what we do. We take authors with concepts and we help them to walk that journey step by step. Literary coaching allows you to have a sounding board. A literary coach is someone who helps you to develop your manuscript, understand your focus and your market and who your target audience is, just who you're trying to talk to. A literary coach is also that person who is going to help you when you're stuck. If there are places in your writing where you don't really know where to go, they're going to help you with that. They're going to help you find your voice. A lot of times, especially people who are well read, your voice is kind of jumbled up in other people's voices. And it's difficult to understand when it's your voice and somebody else's. So a literary agent, literary coach helps you to determine that voice and write authentically and make sure that your voice is the voice that's coming through. Also, they stop you from going down rabbit holes. Sometimes when you're writing, you can get to a point where you don't know how to come out of it because you're trying to invest in telling the entire story, where a coach is going to help you to understand how much of that story needs to be told, and even if it needs to be told. And then with that, making sure that the point of why the story is told is definitely relevant to your writing process. So it's important to have a literary coach. They're also going to help you build the structure of your book. A lot of times people just start writing, and that's how you get writer's block because you don't really have a focus. Your coach is going to help you to build those foundational pieces to make sure that the points that you say that you want to write, the reason why you say you want to write, and even the direction that you're going in, that all stays in alignment with your original purpose. So literary coaching is definitely something, especially for first-time writers, but often with most writers, they all have some type or some form of a literary coach.
Wow, it takes me back being a 20, I don't want to date myself, but really being almost a 30-year educator. You know, that is the value of really knowing how to have a structure to your writing. The
Absolutely.
pre-writing that has to
Yes.
take place. It also happens when you're writing a book that's 1,000 pages. Sounds like
Yes.
that's really, really a part of that whole process as well. Um,
Yes.
you also focus on editing the books when that's all on paper. Talk about the editing process.
So after you've gone through your coaching and your story is complete, you walk yourself into, we walk you, and you walk yourself into editing. Editing is the most important step to publishing a book outside of writing it. Most people think that they can skip this step. I have talked to numerous people who have, oh, I've got a second grade teacher or a college professor who wants to edit my book. That is not the person that you want to edit your book. You want to have and find an editor who is their sole position, their sole job is editing, because they know exactly what it is that a book actually needs. A good editor is not going to just stop with periods and commas and dangling participles. A good editor is going to get in and see where your story has holes that you miss, they're your second reader. Your literary coach is your first reader, but then as that story now needs more development, your editor is going to go in and ask you, well, foundational principle questions of how and why. And they're going to give you poignant thoughts in terms of making this manuscript more reader friendly.
Mhm.
So an editor is more than just a periods and commas person. A good editor is going to give you feedback. They're going to tell you exactly what they thought about once they finished your manuscript and where you can improve. And that is not the kind of thing that a traditional person can do. A person who's done this for years and years, that's who you want to edit your book. Is it cheap? Absolutely not. But if you cannot afford editing, you cannot afford publishing.
Sounds like to me that a literary coach and an editor are two different people, but can they be the same person? And if they are, would they be working on the same manuscript?
So, two different things. First, yes, you can have a literary coach that turns into an editor. Personally, I think they should be two different people. For us, they definitely are two different people. They have two different jobs. Um, when you are in coaching, you're getting your thoughts on paper, but when you're in editing, you're refining those thoughts. And
Mm.
so, as a editor, the editor's job is not to come back. If you're in editing, you should not be writing anymore. So the points that the editor is going to make are not points that are going to have you developing chapters or not points that are going to have you developing points, but they are some things that are going to have clarity. So sometimes there is a character who says something up here, but now down in chapter 4 says something different. Well, your editor is going to find those things and make sure that there's clarity throughout your document, whether that's in a fiction book or a nonfiction book. There are those small minor details that an editor would help you to determine and define and correct, that in literary coaching their job is just to inspire you, get you to write. And coaching is not rah rah rah, you can do it, although we do that. Coaching is essentially teaching you, helping you structurally to get it from your head to the page. And then the editing side is now to help you to refine and make it publishable for content to consume.
If we can, let's pause a moment for anyone who is just tuning in. Live Your Sparkle presents Ready to Write and Publish, but How? And we are having a fantastic, meaningful conversation with publisher Marilyn Alexander. She is telling us how to get that done. We're going to move on from editing and we're going to move into design. You know, when I go into a bookstore, or even when I'm looking online, I really do peruse the cover of the book as well as the title. Tell
Yes.
us how Destined to Publish helps a budding author to get that design just right.
So I'm glad you said that because essentially you eat with your eyes. And that is exactly what you do with the cover. The cover has to be attractive enough to have a person to come to you and physically pick it up, whether that's on the shelf or whether that's online. You eat with your eyes, and I say people say you don't judge a book by its cover. You absolutely judge every book by its cover. Your cover is your calling card. That is what draws a person from a passive consumer to an action to actually purchase it. If they can't get past your cover, then you've lost them as a reader. The other thing in terms of design is understanding how much should go on a cover. A cover is not a commercial. So there can be so much going on in a cover that you lose the intent of what the actual book is. So there is a design to it. There is a strategy to designing your cover, and even the back cover in terms of what you're writing on the cover. How do you now use words in your synopsis to have people to read and be encouraged and be engaged to want to now open up the book? And then that takes us to another part of design, which is interior. And a lot of people think that um, that your interior does not need to be designed, and that is absolutely not true. There are books, I don't know if you've read them, but I don't know, when we were kids and we had these books, they were our high school readers, and there were so many words on a page that your eyes didn't know where to stop. And it discourages your reader. There are a lot of people now, we have people are consuming their content in 160 characters, right? That's what the Twitter is. So you don't want to have a whole entire page full of information, nor do you want to have a page so empty that the reader doesn't feel like the content is valuable enough. So there is a strategy behind how you add your words to the page. Why are there blank pages? Everything that goes into a book has a design and a strategy to it. And then I do want to say one thing about your title. And this kind of goes back to even literary coaching. What your title says and what your title is important to your book. And it is just as important to your book as the actual content is. I talk to authors all the time. And so they will say, oh, my title is I Love Pink. And they might love pink, but then they get into their book and they start talking about purples and golds and browns. And now your title really isn't I Love Pink. Your title is actually I Love Colors. So as you are writing your book, you don't want to write a book to a title. You want to write a title to the contents of the book. So if you have a title, I don't discourage people. That's your springboard. That's what you bring to get the ideas kind of flowing. And then you allow the book to develop, and then the title will come.
What excellent advice. So you help your authors plan it, write it, edit it. Now let's talk about how to protect it. And then we're talking about the legalities of publishing.
So yes, wow, there's so much in the legal process. The simplest thing is your ISBN. Your ISBN is the barcode, is the 13-digit number that's on the back of every book. Without the 13-digit number, the book is not legal, quote unquote. That ISBN is registered with the Library of Congress, and it is needed when you are putting your book into the marketplace for consumption, for sales. So the first thing we do is we register your independent ISBN with the Library of Congress. From there, we do the copyright registration, and it is not the copyright. Do not copyright your book by sending it to yourself. That is not legal. That is not a legal form of copyright. So we register your copyright with your book. And once you're done with editing, then your book goes into copyright. Why? Because after editing, there's so many different things that might change in terms of content or in terms of commas and periods. You want to make your edited version or your copyright version the cleanest version of your book. So that is the version that we send to copyright. Our copyrights are done in 24 hours. If you're doing copyright yourself, you cannot say that your book is copyright until you receive that certificate from the Library of Congress in the mail. Because other than that, if your book is in consumption, it's a first right. So even if your certificate is, or even if you've sent it off to copyright, if someone else comes in and they've copyright something that you said, that copyright is going to be important for you to be able to determine that this is your intellectual property. This is your book. So we send you into copyright. And then the last thing we do is we do what's called an LCCN. And your LCCN is your Library of Congress control number. That allows your book to be pulled into any library, U.S. public library across the country. So we add you to their content. So at that point, your book is searchable in the libraries around the U.S.
Let's talk about how you brand it. You brand it next. You publish it. You protect it. That's legal. You brand it and then you publish it. Let's get into the branding and the publishing. But before we do, I want to go back to these questions.
Okay.
There's a question that asks, we talked about how long it takes, and I think this one is kind of a doozy. It says here, where's that question? Where's that question? They're asking, how do, what is the benefit of self publishing? Is it a respectable way for a first time author to go?
Yeah. Let's unpack that. And I'm going to answer that in a couple different ways. First, let's talk about publishing in and of itself. Um, when people think about publishing, they think about a publishing house. And with a publishing house, that's when you send your manuscript off and a publishing house will pick up that manuscript. What I mean by pick up, they will then say or put under contract that they will print your book. They're going to get the marketing done. They're going to do everything that I have. They're going to do that. But there's no cost to you. Okay. When you're in a publishing house and you're under contract with a publishing company, that publishing company now owns the rights to your book. Why? Because they are trading off the cost that they have put out to publish your book and put it into the market space. Now, in order for them to recoup their costs, they now own your manuscript. They own the rights to your manuscript, and they pay you a fee. They pay you, they compensate you, they give you a royalty for every sale, but they're making the lion's share because they have put the lion's share into the marketplace. And so when you're doing that, is it a good thing? Yes, absolutely. I think every author should aspire to be picked up by a publishing house. What happens with the publishing house, though, when you lose your rights, you can no longer use the title. You can no longer make adjustments to that work. You can no longer do anything to that manuscript in and of itself. And at that point, they may also put you under contract with other rights or with other books that you have, in which case you are still making pennies on each dollar, dollars just in case, dollars in general. So you are making money, but you're also not making as much as you would if you would self-publish. So the opposite
it's almost like you're the CEO of your own book. It's kind of like being an entrepreneur of the book that you write, of your own written word.
Absolutely. As a self-published author, you're in control. You are making all of the necessary decisions that it's going to take, because you are putting in 100% of the cost. The cost of the book is out of pocket, but now you're also recouping 100% of the benefits, 100% of the process. So getting back to your question, though, with self-publishing, publishing houses, they have a whole team of people. Self-publishing, you're putting that team together yourself. You're finding your editor, you're finding your designer, you're finding your coach. All of those things, you're putting those people together yourself, and you're paying out of pocket for those things, whether or not you know if these people are even worth the value of what it is that you're paying, right? So we are a hybrid publisher. So we are directly in the middle. And as a hybrid publisher, we already have the team that the publishing company has, but you are still in control of your book as you would be with a self-publishing company. Okay. So for us in hybrid publishing, we pull all these things together. You still have the control of your manuscript, and you still make 100% of the profits. You pay us what our fee is, and from there, and that fee then is determined by how involved you want us to be in your process. So for the question that the person is asking, is this the best way to go? The main thing when you think about the first thing that a publishing company is going to want to know is, how many units can you sell? How big is your market, your individual market? And if you cannot tell them that you have 2,500, 5,000, 10,000 people, then they are not likely to pick up your book. Why? Because if you cannot invest your money and tell them, if you cannot invest your network and tell them that they can make their money back, they're not going to then invest additional monies to put it out in the market space. So they look at the low hanging fruit, as we would call it. Who's in your wheelhouse? How many units of books can you sell on your own? And as a self-publishing author, if you can say, you know what, I sold 5,000 units of my books, then publishing companies, their eyes are going to kind of light up because you have put your investment in. You have feet on the ground, and you are making it happen for your book. And they know that you are more of a person that they would want to talk to and invest in as somebody who's not sold one unit. So definitely I think self-publishing is the best way to go, especially if your goal is to go to a publishing company. But essentially, and all in all, it's really because you want to be in control of what your manuscript does and how your manuscript is entered into the market space.
Marilyn Alexander is giving us some real nuggets here about how to publish hybridly, what it takes for you to be picked up by a publishing company, and the benefits of both. In her realm, she is a hybrid publisher, and she's talking about the process of getting your book self published. You're being the CEO, you're maintaining control. And I, as the founder of Live Your Sparkle, am here to encourage you to accept that assignment. If there's a call on your life, if it is the purpose for you to take the assignment of being an author, telling your story, getting your words out, being that vessel, and helping someone get to the other side by the words that you have spoken in your book, we're here to encourage you because Live Your Sparkle is about doing just that, accepting your life's assignment. And now, at this time, along with Marilyn Alexander, I would like to bring on the screen also one of her authors. Please let me introduce you to Yolanda Livingston. Yolanda, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hi.
Hi.
If I can pause for a moment, I'm going to show us all Yolanda's book, Yolanda Livingston, Prison of the Pastor's Wife. Yolanda is a pastor's wife, and she has written a wonderful book. Yolanda, can you tell us what is your book about?
Oh, wow. My book is about um, the ins and outs of being a pastor's wife, some of the hardships, some of the challenges. But at the end of the day, it presents a place of freedom. It talks about how God can take you through the burdens, through the trials, into a place of freedom.
Oh, wow. That sounds like an excellent, a good read, a good read. Talk to us
Yeah.
about the literary coaching process that you experienced. Was it an easy one with Destined to Publish?
Yes, it was. It was an easy process with them. Um, the challenges, I think, came on my end, not on theirs. They are very good at what they do. They really genuinely care about producing authors, but not just producing authors, but producing good authors. They are into making sure that what you write both has your voice and connectivity. And so they are an amazing company to sign on with to publish.
Wonderful. The design of your book was Destined to Publish a part of that process?
Absolutely. Um, I had a great vision that Marilyn was like, no, yo, I don't think that's what you want to do on the cover. Um, but anyway, so she sent me different cover options. And like I said, the gist of my book is about being free, becoming free from the things that bind, becoming free from the things that wound us. And so she sent me covers, and the cover that we selected is one that absolutely represents becoming free.
Mm, wonderful. It's really a wonderful cover. It's one that I would pick up. The publishing process. Marilyn has talked to us about the process, but through the lens of a person who has gone through that process, if you were to share with another person whose assignment is to become an author, what would you say to them at this time?
I would say choose Destined to Publish, because during the process, you will end up with a published manuscript. They are sure to both encourage you, stay on top of you, and make sure that you get to the end product. Um, they are amazing with their coaching abilities, and they are steadfast even when you aren't. Because there were some times when I was like, you know what, just forget it. And I would get phone calls, Yolanda, did you write today? I'm like, no. But yes, they're amazing at that, and they're persistent, but they do it in love, and to make sure that you end up with the best product that you can possibly have.
Thank you so much, Yolanda, for joining us. I feel that there's probably another book coming from you. Do you have an idea that you might write another book?
Yes, actually, I have a couple of ideas brewing, and something that I would also like to share. And Marilyn is always encouraging, even in that, like, get that next book going. Don't just sit on it. But I'd like to say, Marilyn is an extremely sweet person, just a sweetheart, and but she also has that side of you that's going to push you and make you bring it out of you. And I both appreciate those aspects of who she is, because she's gentle, but yet she's firm, and she makes you get it done. And I'm grateful. So thank you, Marilyn, for helping me publish my book.
And thank you so much, Yolanda, for coming on and sharing with our viewers the relationship. It seems like the Destined to Publish, although you've published 400 books or more so far, that you've done that in such a way that you're going to have some repeat customers and helping to grow authors to continue to live in their assignment of being authors. Yolanda, thanks again for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Yo. And can I also say that even though Yolanda's title is the pastor's of prisoner's wife, it's not just for pastors' wives. The prison of the pastor's wife. It's not just for prison. It's not just for pastors' wives. It is for women who want to be free wherever they are, whatever prison you find yourself in. Her book encourages you to walk out that journey and understand what true freedom actually is.
Thank you so much. Any final thoughts that you can share with our viewers about just doing it, actually putting that assignment, walking into that space of fulfilling the assignment? What I said earlier is your assignment is God's plan for your life. You've probably always known you were going to write a book, but you just haven't taken the step. You haven't accepted that assignment. And so, what can you say to our viewers about how Destined to Publish is here to help? Any final thoughts?
So I have always said one of my things is everybody has a story, and it's not just your story. Testimonies are not to be kept inside. Your testimony is to be given, to be encouraged, to help someone else. And there are so many things that we as women in particular, but men and as a body of Christ and people in general have gone through. We're coming out of a pandemic where mental health has now been spotlighted. And in that, everybody has walked through something that can help somebody else along that path and along that journey. And writing your book is the best way, not just for you to tell somebody else how to get out of it, but also it helps you as an individual I say that there are times writing is the most intimate place for you to meet yourself.
Hmm.
In those times of writing, there will be times when you're writing and you don't understand exactly what those hard places are. Well, in those hard places, it's God trying to help you through your healing. And so, even as you're writing, your healing is happening. And Yolanda, was attesting to that too. Your healing is happening, and then you get to see somebody else on the other side after they have read your book and understood your journey. Now you can see them, and they would say, you know what, your testimony, your book was the launching pad to help me move into my own freedom. So if this is your year to publish, no, I won't say that. This is your year to publish. Don't let it go past. Start now. Even as we're writing, as we're talking about it, and you leave this webinar today, put pen to paper. You don't even have to, if you don't write, I tell my authors, pick up your phone. There are different apps, Otter AI, where you can literally talk and get what it is out so that you can begin this journey. Because just like your healing is going to happen when you write your book, your reader's healing is going to happen when you publish your book. So let's get started, get it done. You can do it. And it is scary, but guess what? If it wasn't scary, you would have control over it. Because it's scary, you can know that that is a vision that God has given you to do. And now it's His responsibility to help you through this writing process. So the journey is not yours, it's God's.
And it's going to take faith to do it. It's going to take accepting your assignment and walking in the light, which is what Live Your Sparkle is about. Now, we can reach Marilyn and Destined to Publish at www.destinedtopublish.com. And I also want to encourage you, if you are ready to take that step and you want to hear more about what Marilyn has talked about today, there's going to be an authors conference on Saturday, April the 22nd, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. There are some excellent speakers who range between folks who are actual coaches, people who are editors, and authors who will be on hand to help you to strategize and write and market and publish what it is that you want to get out on paper. So please make sure that you tune in. Again, www.destinedtopublish.com. I'm so happy to have had the opportunity to bring this opportunity to you. Absolutely move forward in living your sparkle as an author. And so at this time, we're going to sign off. You have had the opportunity to hear a publisher to help you to understand how to be ready to write and publish. And I hope that you gain some information about how to accomplish that goal. And so we're going to sign off here. Everyone have a wonderful rest of your day.